So far, every layer we have built connects everything to everything. A linear layer on an image is no different. It hands every pixel, paired with every hidden neuron, its very own weight. Picture a tiny image, 36 pixels, feeding just 5 neurons. That is already 36 times 5, 180 separate weights, for a toy you could hold in your hand. Now scale the picture up to a real photograph, and the count runs into the millions before the network has learned a single thing.
Okay, but computers have plenty of memory. Is the parameter count really the problem?
That is the honest question, and no, the count is not even the worst of it. Look at what those weights are. Every one of them is independent of every other. The weight for the pixel in the top corner has nothing to do with the weight for the pixel right beside it. So the layer has no way of knowing that two neighboring pixels belong together at all. Shuffle every pixel in the image to a random spot, and a linear layer cannot even tell the difference. To that layer, an image is just a bag of numbers with no shape. A convolution is the layer that finally knows the picture has a shape. Here is the convolution's bet, and it rests on two ideas. The first is locality. A useful feature, an edge, a corner, a stroke, lives in a small patch of the image, not spread across the whole thing. The second is translation equivariance. That same feature is worth detecting wherever it appears, top left or bottom right. So instead of a weight for every pixel, we learn one small kernel, a little 3 by 3 window of weights, and we slide it over the whole input. The same weights, reused at every position. In Scratch, the conv2d layer stores exactly that. One small kernel, and an output whose height is the input height minus the kernel size, plus 1. Our input is 5 across, the kernel is 3 across, so the feature map comes out 3 across.
Wait, one kernel for the entire image. How can so few numbers see the whole thing?
Because it does not see the whole thing at once. It visits. Watch it move. The window starts in the top left corner, over the first 3 by 3 patch. At each stop it does one thing. It multiplies the kernel against the patch underneath and sums, and that single number becomes one cell of the feature map. Our kernel is a vertical bar detector. Its weight runs straight down the center column. Over the bar, the patch and the kernel line up, and the cell lights up with a 3. One step to the right, the bar has slipped out of the center, and the cell falls to 0. Now the window walks down and across, the same kernel at every stop, never changing, writing the map one cell at a time. And look at the left column of the result, a 3, and another 3, and another 3, all the way down. The very same detector found the vertical bar at every row it passed. That is weight sharing made visible. One small kernel did the work a whole dense layer could not, and it did it everywhere at once. Now the payoff, and it is the whole reason this episode exists. We used one kernel entry at every single position on the way forward. So on the way back, what gradient does that one entry deserve?
Just the gradient from wherever it was used, but it was used everywhere.
Exactly. It was used everywhere, so it must collect gradient from everywhere. Here is the feature map again, and after the forward pass, every cell in it carries a gradient flowing back from the loss, one number per position. Focus on a single entry of the kernel, the one outlined in yellow. Because that one weight touched every one of these 9 positions, every one of them has something to say about how it should change. And the backward code says it in one line. For each position, it takes the gradient there, multiplies it by the input pixel that sat under the weight, and adds that into the kernel's gradient. Adds, not assigns. The gradient for the kernel is a running sum, and the plus equals is doing the summing. Watch it collect. A contribution from the first position, then the next, every cell of the feature map sending its share back into the one entry, until that entry holds the total. 9 positions, 1 accumulated gradient. And that is the sentence to carry out of here. Weight sharing on the way forward is gradient accumulation on the way back. They are not two facts. They are one fact seen from two sides, reuse a weight in many places, and every one of those places owes it a correction. It is the very same plus equals we seeded back in episode 2, when a shared parameter first had to sum its gradients. Only now the sharing is across space. This is exactly what Inductive Biases episode 3 promised you, what a convolution assumes. That episode named the assumption. Here is the code that makes it true. A stack of feature maps is not a classification yet. We need to turn maps into an answer. ArrayLU keeps the activations that fired and zeros the rest, and then global average pooling does something quietly clever. It takes each feature map and collapses the whole thing to a single number, its average. Think about what that means. The convolution is translation equivariant. Move the feature in the input, and its blip moves in the map. But the average does not care where the blip was. So the conv tracks where a feature is, and the pool forgets where, and together they give you a detector that fires for a shape no matter where it sits. On the shapes demo, that is a real win. The convolutional model recognizes a bar in positions it never saw during training, because position was never what it keyed on.
That prior sounds almost too good. Does it ever hurt?
It does, and the failure is clean enough to stage. The convolution bets on locality. It assumes neighbors belong together. So take the input and shuffle the pixels, every pixel sent to a fixed random new home. The picture keeps every pixel it had, not one is lost. But every neighborhood is destroyed. The pixels that used to sit side by side are now scattered across the frame. And the kernel, sliding over that shuffle, is now reading patches that mean nothing. Here is the honest part, the trained result we measured rather than the one we wish for. On the standard digits, the plain multi-layer network is at 96.1% test accuracy. After the fixed pixel shuffle, it is still at 95.7%. It barely flinches because it never had a spatial prior to lose. The convolutional network starts at 95.4 and falls to 93.9. That is the larger drop. Its locality bet, its whole advantage, is now actively wrong about the data in front of it. Global structure is the other blind spot. A small kernel sees only small patches, so a pattern that lives across the whole image slips right past it. A good prior is not good in the abstract. It is good exactly when the world agrees with it, and this is a world engineered to disagree. One thing left, and it is the promise this series keeps every single episode. We do not trust a gradient we have not checked. We already built the checker back in episode 2, so we just aim it at the new layer. Build a real network, a conv2d, ArrayLU, a global average pool, and a linear head, and run gradient check on it. It nudges each parameter a hair in both directions, measures how the loss actually moves, and compares that against the gradient our hand-written backward pass reported.
And after all that accumulating in the backward pass, does it actually agree?
It agrees to about 2 parts in 10 billion. The green card, one more time, our convolution is honest. So a convolution turned out to be a linear layer with a promise kept. One small kernel, reused at every position, learning a local feature with a handful of weights instead of millions. And the promise had a shadow in the backward pass. Shared going forward, so summed coming back, one fact seen from 2 sides. Hold on to that shape because it returns. Next time we share one set of weights not across space, but across time. A single cell, applied at every step of a sequence, its gradient summed over every step it touched. That is recurrence and backprop through time. See you there.